can't beat us, join us, please bring your coinage. We sink 3-pointers, money shots, all net, all vets. Bums we not, jet skiing in them sunny spots. With women edible like gummy drops. Dummy stop, dummy stop. No weapon form can intercept a storm. Once my intellect is on, I'm projecting on magnetic fields and interact with blacks with athletic bills. I'm all about growth and development like residents of Ebbets Fields. Not to choose between woo and chew. We wanna line them colors up like a Rubik's Cube and fade to black, yeah, the truest hue. When you say the black man is God, who you alluded to? The usual Clarence 13X, a worthy guest. The words expressed come from the word in flesh. Elijah M, the NOI versus Leviathan. Messiah sent from the heavenly branches. 7 P's from since G-Dub cut down the cherry tree. In the wilderness of North America, and we flossing death and forced aggression, or forced perception, forced protection, or forced confessions. It's all a lesson.
The sorcerers from Corsica, killer tonics, sticks and drums like the Philharmonic Orchestra. You niggas still playing harmonicas from officers. Fabric softener, jive turkeys popping 5 perkies, playing with keys, the Scotch storage type. For that soft white, we could've caught life, just being forthright. First class on my 4th flight, popping out like Fortnite. Every night we lit like Porsche lights. The meek shall inherit the earth, oh yeah, the scorched type. And these niggas, they some hoes in these streets. Me, I'm 10 toes in these streets. They lost their souls, niggas got holes in their feet. Shit, I'm just worried about the craft and how to perfect it. Not worried about the craft, yeah, that's out of perspectives. Focus on the chip like I'm Robert Kraft, and then how to protect it. It's the waves of the oceans. Get to the money, nigga, save your emotion. Descendant of the slaves in the graves in the oceans. Mastermind that the waves is in motions. These niggas, they addicted to the folly, addicted to that molly. Making me a movie, them sticks made of holly. I'm Dr. Manhattan, sitting on top of Manhattan. When I get all 5 rings, snap my fingers and pop up on satin. Dressed in all black, yeah, drop top the Phantom. Blessed.
Crumb TV.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Third Eye Fridays. You are now rocking with the best. Yes, this is your host for the evening, Brother Red Pillar. And that song that you just heard, that is Theta Waves, featuring the Twin Pillars, ladies and gentlemen. Theta Waves, featuring the Twin Pillar, was goody. All right. Shout out to everybody pulling up in the building. Salute to everybody pulling up in the building. I know it's been a minute. We took a small hiatus, but we are here. We are back in the building. Yes, indeed. We are home. Home sweet home. All right. Home sweet home. Back in the building. You feel me? How's everybody doing on this beautiful Friday? The last day of July. The last day of July. Yeah, dig. Yeah, this one went by pretty quick. You know what I'm talking about? This one went by pretty quick. But here we are. All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and do roll call. Let's see who's in the building, and we're going to get right to the information. I got a ton. When I say I might have to break this up like a blunt of runts, you know what I mean? I might have to break this one up into a maybe a 2-part or a 3-part series. There's so much going on. We're going to cover some grounds tonight, though, for sure. All right. We will be covering some ground, tapping into some of the crazy things that are going on right now. You dig? We'll get to it. Los Angeles, shout out to Los Angeles in the building. Shout out to Mississippi in the building. Shout out to North Las Vegas, and a shout out to Atlantis. Voltron Force. Shout out to everybody that went ahead and purchased a Voltron album on pre-sale. Yes. We see you. All right. We have Oxon Hill, Maryland, South Carolina, Minneapolis, St. Louis, New Bedford, Norfolk, Charlotte, North Cackalack. Florida in the building. The Bronx is in the building. We got New Orleans, fresh and so clean. Did you like the Odyssey for the modern era? I thought the Odyssey was mid. Yeah, I thought it was it was very mid. Phoenix, Arizona in the building. We got Ireland in the building, North Carolina in the building, DMV. They Hollywood is doing so bad, and the bar has been lowered so low that they will hype up anything coming out in the movie theaters right now. They'll get behind anything that's slightly above mediocre. And the hype train is in full effect for that movie. They were going super hard. But then when I saw it, I was like, yeah, this is this ain't what I thought it was gonna be. You dig? Yeah, the Odyssey movie is what I'm speaking about. Toronto, T-Dot in the building. We got Compton in the building. We got Denver in the building. Warren, Ohio was up in the Louisville up in this thing. You know? Claude AI escaped the zoo. Yeah, I saw that article. We're going to talk about that. Compton up in this thing. Yeah, dig. Shout out to Compton. Shout out to Bompton. Yeah, man. Virginia. We got the west side of Chicago. We got the 90220 up in this biatch. Yes, sir. So, waiting on doom. Aren't we all? Aren't we all? Sacramento. Shout out to Sacramento. I think we should get right into that article that
Another AI platform.
let's jump right into the AI business, and then we'll walk down. We'll walk these dogs. We'll walk these dogs. And, okay, let's see.
Literally called depredators.
Let's go.
Another AI platform just escaped its testing environment and proceeded to hack 3 separate companies. 3 separate companies. After we learned that OpenAI had a rogue hacking agent that went after Hugging Face, we're now learning that Anthropic also had a rogue agent. Its AI model Claude broke out of its testing environment and hacked into 3 separate companies. But it wasn't just one Claude model, it involved 3 separate Claude models. Anthropic made this announcement after it said that it was reviewing 141,000 cybersecurity evaluation runs. This is really setting off alarm bells across the country, especially in tech sectors, because we now have at least 4 separate occasions where AI broke out of its sandbox or its testing environment to go and hack into and gain unauthorized access to another organization. Claude has done it 3 times, Chat has done it once. And the question is, at what point are there going to be guardrails around AI to make sure things like this don't continue to happen? Follow for more.
At this point, with these new models that they're releasing, just based off of the power that these models have, they're naturally underneath everything. They're naturally going to be hacking agents. They're going to naturally hack and breach security. They're just intelligent at this point in the game. You're gonna see more of these quote unquote reports until, of course, the Hegelian dialect kicks in and they completely start to regulate and ban. I would say before the year is out, we'll definitely begin to see the more of a concerted regulation. They're going to clamp down on access. You know what I mean? That's just basically what it is. These companies, they we'll just watch. We'll watch. AI done going rogue and what? Yeah, quite yeah. It's it's interesting. It is definitely interesting. But when you look at the people that are behind it, you can understand clearly what it is that you're seeing and whatnot. The guardrails won't work. The U.S. government banned some type of Chinese robot recently. Yeah, and the U.S. government, if anybody was paying attention to the stock market, it was bleeding out. The AI sector, it was bleeding out and whatnot. They took a big hit when China jumped on the scene with all of those open weights. So right now they're hemorrhaging the AI sector by somewhat, disrupting. The Chinese companies are disrupting the US frontier models by dropping cheap product in the market. What happens when you put cheap product in the market. And I'm not saying that it's cheap as in it doesn't have capabilities. No, the cost is more, user friendly, it's more cost efficient, and that's basically disrupting things. So yeah. The Chinese Trojan horses. Very good analogy, right? Very good analogy. So the movie The Odyssey, regardless of what I may think about it in terms of my personal review, it has so many connotations to modern to what we see going on right now. The timing of it was definitely on point. The timing of it was definitely it was well timed because there's a lot of Trojan horses right now. There are a lot of Trojan horses all throughout the government. There's a lot of Trojan horses in our culture. You feel me? That concept of the Trojan horse has been appearing a lot lately, So let us continue. Let us continue going down this rabbit hole. Cause like I said, it's a gang load of shit going on. We're gonna cover some topics that are related to one another, and then we're gonna get into some of the main topics of today's conversation. Definitely Dr. Fauci has to be talked about. And we have to unpack what it is that's taking place right now as a result of that testimony or that lack thereof. All right. But yeah, there's some shit going on in Africa. We've been ringing the alarm and somewhat raising an awareness about the proxy wars and the clandestine wars that are taking place on the continent, especially involving the Sahel states, right? Who, if you wanted to really make an assessment outside of, some of the more obvious facts, they would be the most disrupted piece on the chessboard right now, just in terms of being, not to say that they're the only chess piece that have this power position, but the Sahel states, basically with them kicking out France, invigorating other quote unquote nations on the continent to see a program that's actually functioning and working and is not utilizing the conquistadors or the colonizers or the imperialists, right? They're not sitting on the lap of the IMF, and they're showing that, it's possible to prosper and to thrive and to rebuild and whatnot by doing such. They are disrupting a lot of the plans that these quote unquote nations may have had. Now, once again, I would definitely say that I don't feel like them disrupting the plans or stopping the plans. Them kicking France out is somewhat going to stop France's motion, but it definitely has France on defense, and it has them looking crazy in that region and whatnot. And it's helping to move some of those pieces on the chessboard. Now, always keep in mind this is the theater of war, right? This is the theater of war. There's never you can never be 100% sure that certain peoples are not working together. You can never be 100% sure that these actors or these bad actors are not just basically carrying out theater, right? Theater, okay? So yeah, you know, but check it out. Check it out. They're making moves in that region right now. The USA is beginning to sniff around in that region, and this is their most latest entry.
According to the Washington Post, Donald Trump is considering military intervention in Mali through a drone bombing campaign. This would make Mali into another target of the U.S. war on terror, as the United States claims that it seeks to crush the terrorist organization Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wa Muslimin, JNIM. However, the Malian government has firmly rejected U.S. intervention.
Nous n'avons aucune confirmation, aucune déclaration officielle des États-Unis ou d'officiels américains sur cette question. Nous attendons de voir quelle posture le gouvernement américain aura. Mais je peux vous assurer que le Mali n'est pas assis en train d'attendre que d'autres viennent régler notre problème. Vous savez, il faut juste aller sur nos 3 principes encore une fois, qui sont absolument très clairs pour travailler avec le Mali. Il faut respecter la souveraineté du Mali. Il faut respecter les choix souverains du Mali et prendre en compte les intérêts des populations. Et la dernière chose que je veux dire, c'est que le Mali compte sur lui-même. Le Mali compte sur son intelligence, sur ses ressources, sur ses forces de défense et de sécurité, sur ses propres moyens pour régler les problèmes. Et la moindre des choses que nous pouvons attendre d'un partenaire est de venir demander au Mali de quoi le Mali a besoin.
The Malian government has chosen to distance itself from direct Western intervention, ending the French military campaign, Operation BRONX, by expelling the French troops in 2022. The Washington Post states that a U.S. official has declared, "We urge regional partners and NATO allies to support the Alliance of Sahel states in their war against JNIM and ISIS." Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have distanced themselves from NATO states, particularly France and the European Union. On 14 July 2026, Burkina Faso declared 2 EU officials persona non grata following European Parliament resolutions against the Burkinabe government. On 26 June 2026, Burkina Faso cut diplomatic ties with France. On 12 March 2026, the European Parliament also passed resolutions against the government of Niger. The Alliance of Sahel States countries accuse France of backing terrorist organizations in the region.
Fidèle au principe de la Charte des Nations Unies, le Mali avait, le 15 août 2022, saisi le Conseil de sécurité des Nations Unies en vue d'une réunion du Conseil afin que mon pays puisse fournir des preuves irréfragables du soutien de la France aux activités terroristes. Jusque-là, la requête est demeurée sans suite, alors que leurs actions de sabotage continuent à divers niveaux.
If the United States or NATO intervened in Mali, the action would be read as a non-consensual invasion and a violation of Mali's sovereignty.
So as you can see, and then speaking of Africa, we saw a situation take place yesterday in Spain, right? Now, a lot of people had no idea that there is parts of Spain that's attached to Africa, right? So we saw the quote unquote a migrant breaching of a border where Moroccans fled into Spain. Now, symbolically speaking, right? Because we're symbol literate over here, right? I automatically, the minute I saw that, my mind immediately went to the irony of what it is that I was seeing, right? I was reminded quickly that a few weeks ago, the people in Spain were celebrating their victory, right, at FIFA. Okay. Very big. You know what I mean? Ticket tape parade. The whole city came out. Everybody was excited. Da 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 da. You know, it was real big. And it was declared that day that they have a new superstar. That superstar had already been pointed, you know, they already declared him the superstar. He was already seen as the new face of not just Spain, but the league, right? And that's brother right here, okay, who is of his father's of Moroccan descent and his mother is from New Guinea, right? And he lives in Spain. And he brought the quote unquote, he brought the trophy home. He brought the chip back to this country, right? So when I saw the breach of the border yesterday, I was like, wow, look at the irony of the whole thing, that you have about 60,000 Lamines crossing over into Spain, because there's no way of telling if one of those people that were basically Yamal, there's no telling that any of these people that were coming up in Spain was, you know, uh, as nice as Yamal, you know, if these people have anything to offer, right? Because of course, when you deal with these imperialistic, capitalistic entities and whatnot, it's about what can you offer us? What can we feed off of you? You know what I mean? This is a form of imperialism and colonialism. But check it out, Moors in Spain.
Breaking fucking news, and this is happening currently. Thousands of people, and when I say thousands, I mean thousands of people from Morocco are crossing into Spain right now, into the Ceuta enclave.
Y detrás de esta tremenda imagen de todas estas personas bajando.
See, now the interesting thing about Ceuta, right? When you do the research and you do the history on Ceuta, Ceuta is where the Moors were able to cross over into Spain through on 7-11, where General Tariq, right, when they crossed over, because Ceuta is directly across from the world famous Rock of Gibraltar, right? And Ceuta is where the Moors were commissioned to seek revenge against King Roderick, right? And it was the Black Jews inside of Ceuta that sent for the Moors to come in, I believe, from Morocco, okay? And they came in through Ceuta, right? And that's how they were able to land on the shores of the Iberian Peninsula and then commence to take over. And that's where we have the golden age of the Moors, 7-11, okay? So now, symbolically speaking, 60,000 people coming into your country, that's a lot. They did say that they packed them all up and sent them back after they activated the army and whatnot. But I'm really just paying attention to the symbolism in it all.
So now what a lot of people are going to do is we're going to talk about why this is happening. This is happening because in North Africa, the youth unemployment rate is at an all-time high, along with many other things going wrong in North Africa, especially in that part of North Africa. There's severe instability that is pushing people from West Africa up into North Africa, which is also causing a high increase in the rate of unemployment, which has now pushed these people to the border of Spain, which is the only land that separates the European or Europe from Africa.
Why would a extension of
the Epstein circuit, and people were noticing it, and I can show you evidence. Satanic panic is the one thing the boomers weren't.
All right, let me go back to let's go down this Epstein rabbit hole for a minute, because that's beginning to reappear in the news cycle, okay?
Daze scanning tech used on Palestinians in Gaza is now being used in New York.
Break this down for me.
A company called CoreSight AI built it. The man who helped design it was an Israeli army colonel. He also designed the wall that separates the West Bank from Israel. The Israeli military used CoreSight's system to scan Palestinians at checkpoints in Gaza. 2 days after the shooting outside the Israeli embassy in Washington, CoreSight's North America director went public. He said their systems should be used in U.S. cities to detect early signs of violent intent. His exact words, "This isn't hypothetical. It's already happening."
So they're using the shooting as a sales pitch.
Textbook. The NYPD pays Terragence Global $567,000 to monitor the dark web. The FDNY used Clearview AI to identify a pro-Palestinian protester. The MTA is testing AI that scores your behavior on the subway, but officials say no face scanning in the subway.
So they're not lying, they're just omitting.
Exactly. We teach this in the Propaganda Codex. The method is called omission. Tell you one specific thing isn't happening, so you never ask about the 5 other things that are. No face scanning, but AI scoring your behavior? That's allowed. Gaza was practice. Now it's here. Full breakdown in the Propaganda Codex, sigillamalexio.com.
The Propaganda Codex, right? So as you can see, there are a lot of provocations taking place via these technocrats that are using this AI for more nefarious purposes. Let's continue to go down the rabbit hole.
This century has 3 very important topics: class struggle, national liberation, civil rights. The first is untouchable. The second has soured into racial populism. And only the third one is still allowed to make some noise. Why? Because the first 2 threaten the ruling class, and the third does not. And the Palestinian fighters carry the first 2 on their back. The reason I'm talking about this today is the war in Gaza is about class struggle, national liberation, and anti-fascism. The man who committed the genocide in Gaza against the Palestinians is walking around in Washington, Netanyahu, having a cozy time with Trump, who promised him that he would not be arrested in any way, shape, or form. The law is real, but it's just never applied to the people at the top. Fascism, its oldest trick is to make the killer's violence illegal and the victim's resistance a crime. That's what some of you are doing right now. The strong may kill, the weak may not fight back. Back then, it was a gas chamber. Today, it's the precision-guided bombs. Different technology, but the crime is the same. The whole world, we had one common understanding that we will always crush the Nazis. Now you people roll out the red carpet for the men doing it again. This is a class war on the national stage. Look at the Italian dog walkers who refused to load weapons. They said it. They would not stain their hand with innocent blood. The workers in Gaza, the workers in Genoa share the same fate. People call the fighters terrorists, but they are the people who lost everything. Parents digging their children out of the rubble, facing the most advanced army on earth and Americans' endless ammunition. For them, surrender means extermination. Resist, you may die, but in the knee, you die for certain. This fight belongs to everyone ever colonized and told to be grateful. Netanyahu should be in jail, yet he is walking free on the land that produced the most anti-fascist, anti-Nazi movies and propagandas out there.
You've heard of Palantir by now, an obvious tool of the surveillance state. Facebook might not be as obvious as Palantir, but they're 2 of the same. TIA, Total Information Awareness, was a post-9/11 DARPA concept. That is the real logo, and it was designed to aggregate every piece of data on every single person in the United States. Emails, financial records, all communications, travel, behaviors, into one centralized analysis system. This program was defunded by Congress in 2003 due to it being unconstitutional. Peter Thiel and Alex Karp then met with John Poindexter, the architect of TIA, And he also worked with Dick Carlson, Tucker's dad, and John connected Karp and Thiel to the CIA. The CIA then invested a seed of $2 million into Palantir. The CIA was Palantir's first and only customer for the first 5 years of its existence. And then they branched out to the NSA, FBI, and JP Morgan. Palantir is TIA, just privatized. Palantir generates targeting data for the Israeli military and the US one now, and it runs inside DHS, NCTC, the State Department, and the Pentagon. LifeLog was another DARPA program. It was an ontology-based program designed to capture, store, and detail the complete flow of one person's experience. Every phone number dialed, every message sent or received, every email viewed, step taken, place visited, every personal accomplishment, every relationship change. The goal was to trace all of the threads of an individual's life. It was canceled by DARPA on February 4th, 2004, amid the same congressional privacy concerns as TIA. Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook on the same day, February 4th, 2004, a social media platform designed to extract the exact same information that LifeLog intended to. Peter Thiel was Facebook's first outside investor. In 2015, the program manager for LifeLog, Douglas Gage, said that the program was canceled due to privacy backlash, but the private sector achieved similar data collection goals through platforms like Facebook. They made surveillance a fun social thing, and now people post their entire lives on the internet. There are at least 9 of these DARPA programs that were privatized in order to operate without congressional oversight. SMISC, Social Media and Strategic Communications, was another one, and that was revealed in 2011. It studied how social media can be used for propaganda and influence operations, high mimetic theory. It developed tools for detecting persuasion campaigns and building systems for understanding how influence spreads through social networks. This became Cambridge Analytica, Meta's political advertising platform. Government influence operations literally just privatized. Not to mention, Thiel and Zuckerberg both sit on the Presidential Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Communicator was another one designed to create multimodal speech-enabled dialogue systems, aka computers that could understand and respond to natural spoken language. This enabled soldiers to interact with information systems in combat environments without keyboards or screens. And this then became Apple's Siri, which launched in 2011 and was built on DARPA-funded SRI international research. It's also Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, every voice-activated device that is continuously listening by design. Once again, they make surveillance fun, and then everyone participates in it.
So as you see all of the things going on with Meta, the trials that they're having, when you see what is being exposed in the trial with the Fauci, and the role that social media played in the quote unquote culling of a whole society. I'm not even going to go too deep with it because these people are real tender when it comes to what's being said on their platforms. But y'all, if anybody's paying attention to what's being revealed and whatnot, everybody's hands has a little bit of dirt on them. Everybody got their hands dirty and whatnot. There's a lot of guilty parties and whatnot. Social media, or what we would call a social network, is really being exposed for the weapon that it is, right? It's really being the history of it. Nothing is happening by happenstance. These algorithms, the decline of people's mental health and whatnot, just societal decline in and of itself is directly tied into some of these programs that these platforms have been running for the past 20 some odd years. Okay, let's continue.
Amazon not have to pay a lot of taxes. Well, why would an extension of the government have to pay taxes to the government?
Right.
It's the same thing with Facebook, same thing with Google. They're all extensions of the U.S. government. They're CIA money. The whole Facebook movie is a giant lie. It's a propaganda piece. It wasn't like, oh my God, this autistic guy named Mark Zuckerberg just came up with this great idea. No, dude, that was a Pentagon program called LifeLog. You've heard this, right?
No.
You haven't heard this?
I've not heard this one.
You haven't heard about LifeLog?
No.
Okay. LifeLog is a Pentagon program that wants to basically collect all your data for your whole life.
Okay.
All right. So look this up. What day did the government stop the LifeLog project? There you go. Okay. What day
the
is
U.S.
it?
government specifically?
February 4th. Okay. Now.
Whoa. DARPA shut down the LifeLog project February 4th, 2004.
Now do me a favor and look up what day was Facebook registered as a business.
Oh my God. No way, bro. February 4th, 2004.
The exact same day. They don't even hide it, dude. They didn't even wait a day.
Oops.
Facebook is a government.
It was
program.
created by DARPA.
Yeah. And then they handed it to Mark Zuckerberg. And then the Vossel twins.
What about the other? Yeah.
That's all bullshit. That's all just theater. That's just theater to create a story. And that's why they became the first Bitcoin millionaires, because they played ball.
Oh my God.
It's all theater, dude.
So what is the purpose of LifeLog?
Is this to collect all your data for your whole entire life.
Wow.
And then they're like,
and now they own Instagram.
They own Instagram, Facebook. They own WhatsApp.
Yep.
They own all of it, dude. They're collecting all your data all the time, which seems incredibly boring to me. But
the future is all going to be collecting data, biometric data on everybody. That's where all the money is going to be.
So the key isn't that they're monitoring you all the time. That would be impossible. Even with AI, it's impossible to monitor you all the time. What they're doing is waiting till you either become a problem or it could be an asset.
So, you just have to be very mindful of the role that these companies play, and when it comes to the psyops, when it comes to the propaganda, when it comes to the surveillance, when it comes to the data mining and whatnot. Okay. Let us continue. I do want to show this real quick before we continue, because we did touch on that in the Spain situation. I just want to put into context where this area is at and how, not knowing certain geography leads to the propaganda, because they're like, Spain is being invaded. But if you got to look at the map to see where that area is at. That's not necessarily the mainland of Spain. That's literally Morocco, where that quote unquote invasion is happening, and it just happens to be Spain's territory. So check this out.
You've probably seen headlines saying thousands of Moroccans have entered Spain. That's only part of the story. What actually happened is that they entered Ceuta, which is Spanish territory, but it's located on the northern coast of Africa and shares a land border with Morocco. So they didn't cross into the mainland Spain across the Mediterranean. They crossed into the Spanish enclave that's physically in North Africa. Think of it like Gibraltar. Gibraltar is British territory, even though it's attached to Spain. Ceuta is Spanish territory, even though it's attached to Morocco. The migration crisis is real, but understanding the geography is important. Context matters just as much as the headlines.
Context matters. I'll give you one more clip on this place.
City in Africa that's controlled by Spain, but here's why. This is Ceuta. It's located on the northern coast of Africa, surrounded by Morocco on one side and the Mediterranean Sea on the other. But despite being in Africa, Spain first took control of the city over 400 years ago, and it remains Spanish territory to this day. And that means it's part of the European Union, but it's not part of NATO. Walking around, you'll find Spanish schools, police, flags, and people using the euro. And yet, just beyond the border is Morocco.
This fence divides the European Union from Africa.
Morocco actually claims that Ceuta should belong to them, while Spain argues that it's been Spanish for centuries. And for the people who live here, life feels like a blend of Europe and North Africa.
Y en Ceuta tiene muchas culturas de otros países, aquí Morocco, España y otros.
It's one of the last few places on Earth where two continents, cultures, and political identities meet face to face. And to visit Ceuta, it only takes an hour on the ferry from the Spanish city of Algeciras.
And we're in Africa.
Follow to see more content like this and from the rest of North Africa.
Yeah. A little history lesson for those that are willing to learn. They want to go a little bit more deeper into what it is that's taking place. Satanic panic. Let's get into that.
Satanic panic is the one thing the boomers weren't crazy about. The way it's been retold to you is completely false. Okay, I was alive for it. There was very good reason to be concerned. It was the beginnings of the Epstein circuit and people were noticing it, and I can show you evidence. Hold on. Look at this guy's eyebrows, okay? This was the director of the U.S. military psychological operations throughout the 80s and 90s. His name is Michael Aquino, and he was a high priest in the Temple of Set, which is a satanic religion. They very specifically and loudly split from the regular, like, satanic religion, you know, the one where they are actually atheist and they don't believe Satan's a real person. He's like, oh no, Satan's a real fucking guy, and I worship him, and I love him. That's him. And Michael Aquino was investigated in relation to a child molestation ring where a child identified him specifically as the culprit in 1987, and at least 58 out of 100 children in this military-run daycare showed signs of abuse, but he didn't get charged, and he stayed in the military. And then 2 years later, he was on Oprah. Now, good luck finding this whole video, but he goes on here and explains that, yeah, I'm a Satanist. And then they have an audience member come on and talk about how he murdered a guy as part of his Satanist cult. And like, how do you reckon the fact that you have to murder people in your religion? And this came on the heels of the Johnny Gosch case. This was one of the first kids on a milk carton. He was kidnapped while he was delivering newspapers. And then a few years later, another boy came forward and said, I know what happened to him. He got taken by this satanic prostitution ring that is run by judges in Nebraska. And then there was this scandal happening, and the main guy who was arrested for this, like, witnesses said that he was throwing these like satanic parties where they were ritualistically abusing children. And we know now from the Epstein files, these are all very real things that happened, okay? But they got dismissed as satanic panic, and people just mocked them. There's a documentary about Johnny Gosch called What Happened to Johnny. His mother says that he came and visited her one time in the early 2000s and showed her that he was alive, but that his life was in danger if, like, he couldn't stay in contact with her. And also the person who came forward and told him that he was taken by this ring, like, he took her to the house where she could see, like, the kids' names written on the wall and everything. Like, there's a lot of evidence about the satanic panic, and it was very, very real. And it was, but our government doesn't want you to know because they were the ones doing it.
It be such a coincidence that you ran all of the surveillance technology and all of the spy technology for the country and honestly the world? Then no one would know that your family is a bunch of fucking Nazis from Frankfurt, Germany. A decade ago, Peter Thiel was a name only vaguely familiar to me, just another harmless tech bro with Asperger's. Today, though, it seems as if he, along with Elon Musk, are somehow poised to become de facto oligarchical rulers of the US and perhaps the world. I can't shake this suspicion that somehow the destinies of Peter and Elon were shaped from a very early age by the real power brokers of the world. It seems quite strange, for example, that both the Thiel and Musk families were in South Africa at the same time, and both were involved with the mining industry. Was there an invisible hidden hand orchestrating the movements of these Nazi families? Absolutely. It was called the CIA. It was called Allen Dulles. I've looked far and wide for information on the Thiel and Musk families, but have come up mostly empty-handed. I suspect the main reason is that these families are foreign to the U.S. and just don't have access to the appropriate records. But still, the Thiel family immigrated to the U.S. around 1968, yet there is hardly a trace of them in the public record prior to Thiel's entry into public life in the early 90s. Isn't that so convenient for Peter, right? Especially if your dad was like a literal fucking Nazi who was doing like mining excavation shit for Israel and for the Nazis and for whoever the fuck and America and just doing general intelligence Nazi spy shit. Because of the few things that we know about Peter Thiel's family, his dad was a chemist/engineer for mining operations, either gold, uranium. I don't think it matters. I think he's just good at digging shit out of the ground with slave labor like all Nazis. Oh, and stealing it. Yeah. Stealing it's a big part of that. Peter Thiel once told me his father was a truck driver. In fact, Klaus Thiel was a mining executive and project manager who has not become an American citizen. Immigrant, dirty immigrant, Peter Thiel, get out of here. Klaus Thiel's American colleagues called him the Gestapo, and Peter visited Klaus at least once in Papua New Guinea. It was interesting. Klaus Thiel was from Germany. We used to call him the Gestapo. He was kind of a stocky, short guy, and he'd walk in, and I said, whispering, "Here comes the Gestapo." He'd dictate with a German accent, and I just did a lot of typing. For a while there, then, I was the only girl there, and then they hired a receptionist. I don't think they talk about it. There were people from Russia, Peru, Taiwan, Mexico, all over the place. Interesting, doesn't matter. But he is a fucking mining executive that they called the Gestapo because he's a Nazi. My dad worked these large engineering projects, Thiel told author Luke Burgess. One of them was at Lahir Islands off the coast of Papua New Guinea. I remember that on the way to the airstrip, there was this concession stand with people standing around. They were all businessmen, spies, or at least playing the role of business. Yeah, exactly. The role. But they would just stand around and chat. Nobody was buying or selling anything except for their fucking bullshit and lies. What happened in Papua New Guinea around this time? Some big old fucking coup? Some CIA-backed coup? Did they steal a bunch of resources? Sounds like they did. If Klaus Thiel was there, they were doing bad shit. Klaus Thiel helped mine the uranium in Namibia for the South African, Israeli, French, and Chinese atomic bombs. Most recently, Rosing was sold to China National Uranium Corporation Limited. Yeah, China is also in bed with these fucking Zionists, dude. Given that Peter is German, there's always the question of Nazi ties. Amen, dude. A friend has taken an initial pass at the National Archives, and they found fucking nothing and never fucking will. So yeah, then Peter Thiel's dad spent some time in Salt Lake City, of all places. Very interesting little Mormon man. Because you guys know the Mormons and the Zionists and the Nazis, they're all like this, right? They fucking suck each other a lot. And gluck. Fucking sucking, glucking, slobbing on knobs, bro. But yeah, Klaus had a P.O. box in Salt Lake City that belonged to Kennecott Minerals Company in 93 to 97. His mother, Suzanne, had an address listed there too. During this period of time, Kennecott operated as a wholly owned subsidiary of BP Minerals, which was then acquired by RTZ Corporation, PLC, which then went on to merge with Australia's CRA Group to form the largest mining company in the world. Also in 1990, Kennecott announced a joint venture with U.S. Energy Corp related to uranium mining in Wyoming. Interestingly, James Corbett recently posted an article on Thiel in which he claims Peter's father was involved in the clandestine uranium mining in Namibia. Yay! You know what? Peter Thiel also has a relationship with Namibia because he's from Swakompaland or whatever the fuck. That little Nazi village that celebrated Hitler, and Peter Thiel grew up there? Oh, look at this sad little boy, probably getting passed around by his entire Freemason Nazi family, you know? He's got those sad eyes, it kind of looks like it. He had German schooling in Swakopmund, which fucking loved Hitler, dude. Bro said, I cannot be completely certain, but I believe this is a picture of Peter's father, second from left. Well, guess what, buddy? I see a short, stocky little Nazi boy. That looks right to me. Look, he's going to cut this woman in half. Klaus was the project engineer in charge of the McLaughlin gold mine. Nazis love their gold, no matter how many times they say it's Jewish people, you know? Then here's a little interesting tidbit. In Peter's little biography here, it says he's the something for Epoch Innovation. He's a member of the Scientific Advisory Board for Epoch Innovations. And this bro said, this piqued my curiosity as I've never heard of this company before, but it seemed a bit strange to me that Peter would be acting in the capacity of a scientific advisor for literally anything. Epoch Innovations was a company that was originally funded by an Israeli father and son duo, Saul and Yossi Kulak. More like Kuklok, the former of whom appears to firmly believe that we are living at the end of a Jewish calendar, i.e. the end of the world. That's interesting because Peter thinks that. Peter thinks that the Antichrist is coming. Oh no, this can't all be connected, right? Listen to this. This company, Epoch, the two dads, the two father-son duo, they patented a system that basically allows the mind to be reprogrammed by means of flashing lights on a computer screen synchronized to the subject's heartbeat. They further extended their system to another patent to influence involuntary physical movements of a subject using the same techniques. This seems like another one of those dual-use technologies. No wannabe tyrant worth his salt would pass up an opportunity to try to find a way to mind control his subjects, but you can't just come right out and say that. Hence, we're presented with the legitimate use of the technology, which is helping people, but really they want to mind control you because the Nazis did MK Ultra, and Peter Thiel is a fucking descendant of MK Ultra. Here's some articles about that guy that thinks the end of times is coming because that they're literally going to make the end of times come. We are currently in the final twilight before Messiah. Israeli scientist finds mathematical formula that proves prophecy. Fucking, isn't that so awesome for them? Apparently, Saul has developed a mathematical formula relating the movements of the borders of Israel with the date and the tilt of the Earth's axis. Sounds loony, but then again, it is quite eerie that the turning point of 2019 actually seemed to have happened. I also find it disturbing that Jewish prophecy is tied up with the borders of Israel, and we just so happen to be witnessing a dramatic expansion of those borders at this moment. So Saul is the kind of guy that Peter Thiel saw and said, that sounds like a good opportunity. And this was written like 2 years ago, boys. The fucking borders of Israel, how are they cooking now? I'd say their little prophecy is coming to an end soon enough. Peter Thiel's going to see to it. And never forget, the homie John Mayer, not the guitarist, said once, Peter Thiel is Adolf Hitler. Open your mind, think science and technology, think carefully, and I'll share more later. He never did because his family put him in a mental hospital. Hitler never killed himself. It was merely a genius story to tell to pretend they lost. And boy, did they not. They literally run everything. Everything, bro. Peter Thiel, I'm coming. Peter Hitler, I'm coming for you, you fucking no-eyebrowed, ugly gooner. Incel loser. I didn't even talk about the fact that he threw his boyfriend off a balcony. Well, he didn't do it. He had his bodyguard do it. Peter Thiel would never be able to do something cool like that. And by cool, I mean lift a human up over his head and throw him off a balcony. Peter Thiel can't even pick up a dog, bro. Anyway, fuck Peter Thiel.
Yeah. Let's continue. Once again, we just keep a Peter Thiel dossier over here because this individual is beginning to enter into the public's eye a lot more these days than before. He was behind the scenes. It's very important just to know and bring awareness as to who this man is, his investments, the companies that he represents. So when you hear the name Palantir get thrown around, when you hear Palantir and it applies to surveillance, it applies to law and order, it applies to the government, just know who's behind these businesses and these companies. And like I said, we've already shown how the social medias are all government owned, basically surveillance plants. All right, let us continue.
Over 70% of humanity received a neurotoxic shot, now linked to Over 70% of humanity received a neurotoxic shot, now linked to 146 serious brain, spinal cord, and psychiatric adverse events. This explains the widespread collapse of common sense, deterioration of cognitive function, and drastic personality distortions we've seen over the last years. Fauci invoked the fifth over 100 times yesterday. If you got it, why aren't you even questioning the source, or even watching his congressional hearing? Because you weren't even in reality anymore. Your memory is fading. These are the same people that didn't even type in the simple URL to investigate the EP files. Today, the battle is the conscious versus the unconscious.
Today I realize I'm not hating to my fullest potential. Call him the Birdman. I call him Mr. Iniquitous. Cause son, ain't new to this, he's true to this. Every single day he pull up out the color peroxide, no words, just spread bird food around.
What on earth are you doing? You're really ruffling some feathers around here, Mr. Birdman.
And every single morning, birds be out there wilding, bugging out, moving, grooving, vibing, sliding, and shitting everywhere. And I have to imagine, It must just be like an ex or somebody he really hates that live on that block. And he's just like, yeah, you gonna have to deal with bird and bird shit every day because you a bird, bitch. And it's like, damn, son. I gotta get more like bro. eBay has reached Mephistophelian levels of hate. They had to pay a couple $56 million fucking dollars because they was talking shit about their marketplace. And so they was like, oh yeah, let's gang stalk these niggas. Send a fucking bloody pig mask to their crib. Fetal pig. Insects. To their house. People open up the box, next thing you know, insects, spiders, jumping, lion, tiger. Well, not lion, tigers, and bear, but like, that's what eBay was on, son? I know you see the bear right there in the cut like Neosporin. And he deliver your pizza. You're not gonna be like, come on in, son. You said be cool.
Watch out, just be cool.
Like, you mean be cool? That's a bear. March Fair, you got to death. It'd be cool if you invited son into the fucking crib. He's stone cold killer. Even hating, I'm just establishing my ignorance because I never grasped the Amazon was really like, ain't no fucking way. You get dropped off, you lost forever. Our greatest liability pulled off some of the craziest hate I've seen in a long time because they somehow orchestrated a bunch of immigrants at the same fucking time to make the little push from Morocco into what's technically Spain, but it's really like, it's on African land. Like, it sounds kind of fucking insane that Spain even has that as a territory. Like, I mean, look at this. So when you see all the videos talking about they're infiltrating Europe, like, I guess, but like, not really though. Like, how did they even get away with that? I mean, if I was Morocco, I'd be like, all right, come on, son. Stop playing around. Give us the city. It's like somebody pulled a national treasure on national treasure. And I didn't even know this was possible. Like, how do you have a movie stolen out your office? Like, was the film there? Or did the nigga like go in there on some hacking shit and be like, all right, boop, send it to me, delete? I'm just wondering. But I know Nicolas Cage was like, oh shit, I'm on a mission. Like, this could be a new movie. Cause I ain't gonna lie, that's tough. I've been seeing mad movies on Twitter lately. So somebody in y'all studios been wildin'. India, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all got some explaining to do as you know, a human society. That's trash water. All of this is trash. Just a massive landfill. I know landfills. There's in other places, but like, and I know y'all got 1 billion people. But my nigga, could you imagine this? Again, wallahi, oh my days, ain't no fucking way. Like, there's no excuse for this.
Vibing and sliding. Let's go to Chocolate Godiva. I ain't hear from her in a minute. Let's see what she been up to. Godiva, where you at, sis?
Most people have heard of Palantir by now, and
Oh, you doing your hair? Okay, we'll get back to you in a minute. We'll get back to you. Let's go to the next, sis.
I'm gonna go fast, so I need you to stop this video and take notes anywhere that you need to. And if you hear anything that you've never heard before and you need to learn that section, I ask that you join the link in my bio. It says Patreon. It's only $1 a month. And then I ask that you come and discuss and learn with us on live. Was I concerned when the United States of America and the United States of Israel decided to take the opportunity of hitting Iran? A little bit. In 1979, Iran took 52 diplomats and held them hostage for 444 days. And it wasn't Iranians' Revolutionary Guard. It was Iranian activists and students. They let all the black people and the women go. Was I concerned when Donald Trump threatened Canada and Mexico and said that he wanted to hit Mexico 6 times to hit the cartel? A little bit. Was I concerned when he deployed special forces into Scotland in the middle of the fucking night and decided to extract 2 Georgians that were on the Bella 1? Or when he hit Nigeria? Or when he started flickering with the powers of Venezuela? And Cuba and Colombia? Sure. I saw something though. Ukraine entering the war today didn't make any sense. Ukraine hitting an Iranian vessel, a commercial vessel, a civilian vessel, which could be looked at as war crimes, does not make sense. But both Volodymyr Zelensky and Benjamin Netanyahu on Friday entered into the West Wing into a private meeting with Donald Trump that nobody recorded. This is a week after Melania Trump had a video put up by Iran threatening her life. And a couple of days after the Pentagon comes out and warn Americans about sleeper cells in other countries that might try to attack us. We are going to be invaded. And I'm going to explain why. Russia warned us not to allow Ukraine to join NATO. That is why Russia attacked Crimea in 2014 after Obama in 2008 tried to get them to join NATO, and France and Germany said, no. Then we did it again during the time period of 2014 and 2016. When they voted no again, we just kept sending them weapons. Obama, Biden, and Trump. We forced Sweden and Finland to join NATO, and even pressed Turkey to make sure that it was accepted because of the Kurdish, the PKK. And the only country that broke that gentleman's agreement of 1991 that would have been this situation that would have gotten Ukraine involved into a war with Russia was the United States. NATO wasn't supposed to go past 18 countries, nor was it supposed to go east past the Berlin Wall. As of 2026, NATO is sitting at 32 countries, awaiting the expedited expedition of Ukraine. That's 6 countries at a war, including the Saudi Arabians helping us hit Iraq. But we were set up. There is no way on January 3rd of 2026, Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro would have been found in Caracas. There is no way on January 3rd of 2026 would you have had a president in the same Capitol building. I want you to think if there was a threat to the United States president and why Donald Trump hasn't been giving most of his meetings in the White House. Someone tested out our invasion capabilities and didn't respond. Venezuela didn't respond with the military or anything like that in between. The same day that Volodymyr Zelensky and Benjamin Netanyahu came here, Delcy Rodriguez left the ICC, one of the biggest allies of Iran and Russia. Mark my words. Someone is going to hit us just like Japan. Japan invaded us on land and sea. Don't you ever forget that.
Well, it only took 6 years and, of course, Dr. Tony Fauci's diary to convince, hopefully, everybody that COVID was a scam from the very start. Some of us called this out in 2020, but for those that are a little late to the game, better late than never. It was a scam from the start. 2 weeks to flatten the curve. No, that was a compliance test, my friends. They shut down the small businesses, but the big box retailers could stay open because they were deemed essential. Healthy people were told that they were safer at home. Safer at home, young, healthy people should not be quarantining. Quarantine is for sick people, number one. But then it continued with the masks, as if putting a flimsy piece of decorative fabric over your mouth and nose for hours on end, breathing in your own fumes, was somehow going to protect you from the virus. But then there was also the distancing, right? 6 feet. If we stood 6 feet apart, somehow that was going to protect us. I especially loved it when it came to the airplane, where we had to board 6 feet apart and then we were smashed right next to each other in the airplane. But it got better on the airplane. Of course, the masks, but you could lower the mask if you wanted to eat or drink, because somehow if you just lowered it to eat or drink, then COVID wouldn't get you.
So there's a great reckoning taking place on my timeline where, of course, everybody who was vehemently opposed are being humbled, right? And they're coming with their flowers, they're coming with their olive branches, they're coming with their sorries and whatnot. I just want to know how many y'all in the audience are willing to even entertain that at this point in the game. How many people are willing to, give the people who demonized you, out ostracized you, and literally disrespected your name? How many people are willing to sit down with these people and have a heart-to-heart with them now that they've been told, right? Regardless of what we were telling them, now they've been told through the own word, through the mouth of their own man that they trusted. Well, really through the actions, okay? With that man taking the fifth 111 times, pleading the fifth, rather, right? How many people are now willing to swallow their pride and apologize? I know Stephen A. Smith is now. Check him out.
It turns out that no matter what the truth is behind all of this, Kyrie Irving did nobody wrong. We did him wrong. I did him wrong. And for that, I'm sincerely sorry. I just thought it was important to say that. And all of those people in the sports world. You deal with the preponderance of evidence that's presented to you and you come up with a perspective. It certainly doesn't mean you're always right. And I'll be damned if I'm always right. This is the latest evidence pointing to that. Doesn't mean that Dr. Fauci was totally wrong just because he pleaded the fifth 111 times. It means there's grounds for suspicion. And that suspicion alone justifies the skepticism, the cynicism, and the doubt that came along with the Kyrie Irvings, the Aaron Rodgers, the Novak Djokovic's of the world. They weren't as wrong as we thought they were. At the very least, we can say that. And that alone warrants a sincere apology to all of them. In my case, especially Kyrie Irving. That's all I wanted to say.
Who the fuck do you think you were for doing that? It is a total disgrace what you did to this country. Those policies were put in place because you had moronic politicians that listened to the words of a megalomaniac who was more interested in having met a Kardashian than the suffering of the American people. There is no defense of what you did. You may have had a 50-plus year legacy of public service, but it ends in total and complete disgrace. So let me ask you an opportunity to answer one question. Will you apologize, just apologize, to the people who you harmed through your actions? Will you say, do you have the dignity to just say you're sorry?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
It's no secret why you have to hire the biggest dirtbag attorney on the planet, because of what you did. I hope you're paying him well. And I hope that one way or the other, somewhere, sometime, you answer for your crimes.
Starting to see, as we're seeing virtually as the months go by, other groups that can be involved, and seeing it in children is really quite disturbing. When you say other close contact, give me some examples. Well, for example, if the close contact of a child is a household contact, perhaps there will be a certain number of cases of individuals who are just living with and in close contact with someone with AIDS or at risk of AIDS, who does not necessarily have to have intimate sexual contact or share a needle, but just the ordinary close contact that one sees.
6 years ago, when Dr. Anthony Fauci was on our screens almost every day, as the government's leading medical authority during the COVID crisis, Fauci led the call for lockdowns and school closures and made plenty of enemies along the way. Senator Rand Paul was one of those who questioned the conventional wisdom of Fauci at the time, and ahead of a hearing has released thousands of pages of Fauci's pandemic diaries. The diaries open a window into the striking contrast between what Fauci was saying privately and what he was telling the American people throughout the pandemic. They paint a picture of a mainstream media complicit in passing along Fauci's untruths, with not an ounce of skepticism. In public, Fauci consistently dismissed the lab leak theory, even mocking it at one point as a, quote, circular argument. Internally, Fauci argued that the issue needed to be investigated. Quote, we could not let this go. Exactly the opposite of his insistence in public. One entry in his Dear Diary he wrote at the height of the pandemic said, big front page article about me appeared in the Washington Post. Very flattering. The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. It is not hyperbole to say that today I am the most famous and talked about person in the world. He wrote about being invited to Washington cocktail parties and a book party for Washington Post columnist Ruth Marcus with the creme de la creme of DC elites, calling it a, quote, super A-list party. He rubbed elbows and befriended the same media that never questioned any of his claims, even while other scientists and doctors like Jay Bhattacharya were crucified for sharing alternate scientific data. He talks about Steph Curry and Julia Roberts wanting to shake his hand, people applauding him when he walked into a restaurant, the calls that would come to him from important leaders across the country, all with the media's compliance to his every word. And lest we forget President Joe Biden's preemptive blanket pardon of Dr. Fauci before departing office. Is Anthony Fauci solely responsible for this crisis of untrustworthiness? Of course not. But his hypocrisy will make it much harder to regain the trust the country needs to have in its officials. To read more of our editorial on the Fauci Diaries, head to...
So, for everybody who was negatively affected by the propaganda campaign that split families up, that destroyed marriages, that disrupted friendships, and all type of other forms of fallout and whatnot, I am showing you these videos, and I'm making, I'm just raising some awareness as to the fact that you now have the ammunition that you need. I would say, quite honestly, I would say quite honestly, stand on business and don't let this one just go away. Get your apologies. You understand? You deserve it. A very egregious time for so many of us. They're going to use this man as a scapegoat. You see the play get taken. You see the fact that he's being used as a fall guy. There are thousands of people who literally need to fall on the sword at this point. There are thousands of people who need to answer to not only the people, but to the law. Okay. This is something on levels that is, listen, the level of complicity involved in this extinction event. This was an extinction event, ladies and gentlemen. They targeted the baby boomers. They succeeded in population decrease. All right in our faces and whatnot. And the evidence, the mounting evidence, something that they literally couldn't hide, couldn't burn, couldn't deny. It's all coming out. Keep in mind, right? Keep in mind that we are currently in what is known as the Saturn retrograde, right? I fully believe that this is an aspect of the precession of the equinox. This is fully Saturn and retrograde activity that we're seeing and whatnot. This is all being mandated through the heavens, okay, through the stars and whatnot, the alignment that's taking place, the exposure, the fact that the covers are being pulled off and whatnot, the curtain is getting pulled back. This has everything to do with the times that we're in. And I would just say, while these times are here, I definitely look forward to seeing some justice being served. It's egregious that this man was pardoned, right, by Joe Biden and whatnot, and he's literally allowed to walk around. It's literally it's more egregious than Jeffrey, because homie caught bodies like recently. These are new bodies, right? He caught them recently, and he's allowed to walk around, and I don't know. I don't know if he has some type of immunity, but what I do see, I see the same play that they did with Jeffrey, where Jeffrey is allegedly a body and whatnot. So when Jeffrey was alive, they wasn't throwing things on Jeffrey. They wasn't pinning things to his donkey and whatnot. They were denying that he had anything to do with it. But the minute they say he was unalived and whatnot, then they were able to throw all of the quote unquote afflictions, all of the negativity, everything was his doing. He becomes the scapegoat. He becomes the fall guy, right? And then everybody else is literally moving around fully exonerated, right? They knocking off witnesses, they buying people out and whatnot, they NDAing people and whatnot, they locking certain people up, certain people are missing, but this is their way of cleaning up. So the same exact thing is happening with these officials and whatnot, but we already know what it is. I plead with the public, don't forget about all parties involved. This is some crazy ish. This is crazy. Let's see what else we got going on. Okay, let's tap into this moon. Let's see what this is about.
Don't be mad at me. I've been just a little busy, but we do have a full moon peaking in Aquarius with the shadow period that lasts until August 1st. So y'all got all that time to do this full moon release work I'm about to give you. Let's get into it. Full moons are all about reflecting on the past, revealing mysteries of life, and releasing anything that is not aligned with our wellness. And Aquarius is a fixed air sign that is modernly ruled by Uranus, our planet of innovation. Whenever we have a full moon in Aquarius, we have an increased connection with our divine feminine energy. Our desire to create, our intuition is increased, but also our desire to flow freely. When you have a full moon in Aquarius, your emotions are a bit more detached than usual because that is Aquarius energy. And this is good because full moons are known for elevating our emotions, for bringing more chaos to the emotions. But Aquarius energy balances that out because Aquarius energy is like, oh, whatever. So enjoy the freedom of a full moon in Aquarius, but also don't be surprised if you find yourself having a deep desire for even more freedom, especially in the areas of career and self-expression. With this full moon in Aquarius, it's going to be super important that you are intentional about tapping into and exploring both your creative energy and your free-flowing energy, especially when it comes to the area of spirituality, because Neptune, our planet of spirituality, spiritual gifts, and dreams, is sextiling or complementing this full moon energy. With that being stated, this is the perfect time to try new spiritual practices, new forms of breath work, new forms of manifestation, meditation. Also, research some new things that you can add to your workings, your spiritual workings, your practice of root work, herbalism, etc. This is a good time to really be open and study and research spirituality from a different perspective. You may want to study a different religion, a different ATR, a different European spiritual practice. Really try some different things, and you never know what you might end up adding to your spiritual toolkit that may bring ease and expedite your manifestation. And opposing this full moon in Aquarius, we have the sun, which is our connection between our highest divine self and the highest divine source, and Jupiter, which is our planet of expansion, philosophy, wisdom, and ideas, in Leo. Now we know Leo is the drama. This opposition is really calling us to bring attention and awareness to our highest divine self from a space of minding the ego. This is the time to be intentional about detaching from your ego and connecting to the root of who you are, which is your soul, your spirit energy. Also, when it comes to that Jupiter opposition, we want to be super intentional about not manifesting from the ego, not sitting there and creating these desires and ideas of needs from an egoic space. What is your soul calling for? What is your spirit needing from you? I'm offering you some journal prompts from The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav, which is an amazing book. And these journal prompts are created with the intention of really helping you do the work to unpack your relationship with your soul as you detach from your ego. And don't forget that detaching during this time is going to be easy under that full moon in Aquarius. Also, do the work to release aspects of the ego that are really blocking you from connecting to your soul and manifesting from the soul as opposed to the ego. And of course, I'm going to offer you some crystals and herbs that you can utilize under this full moon in Aquarius for your wellness. With these herbs, I heavily advise that you make a spiritual bath or a salt scrub with them. With the sea salt, you can also add activated charcoal because it's also a good dispeller and protection herb as well. And that's how you make black salt, actually. You can mix sea salt and activated charcoal. So this can be like a black salt scrub if you desire. Now, the energy of this full moon in Aquarius will last until August 1st. So you have all of that time to do your burning release ceremony to release the fears that are blocking you from tapping into your creativity as well as your freedom. Also release those aspects of the ego that are blocking you from connecting to your soul and creating these artificial ideas of needs and wants that are really not coming from a spirit-led space. To do that, you can take that spiritual bath I shared with you as well. Much peace and happy full moon.
After watching The Odyssey, I can't help but see a Trojan horse everywhere in society. We're in a constant state of paranoia. We don't trust anything. Is that picture real or is it AI? Does that friend actually like me or do they just want validation and hate me behind my back? Is that politician telling the truth or is he just lying again? Does that doctor prescribe me drugs because it helps me or because it makes them more money? When was the last time you saw a horse as just a horse and nothing more? I can't even think of it. And when the social trust is so low, the safest course of action is just to assume that somebody has the worst intentions. And if we all have this mindset, what kind of world do we live in? We can never build something together because we're not together.
That Trojan horse, Trojan horse. Yeah, it's everywhere. Let us go. Who heard about the books with Anthropic?
Burkina Faso just opened.
Who heard about the books with Anthropic? We'll get into it.
Data center theory. I saw all of these cameras en route. Data center theory. I saw all of these cameras en route to where I was going. From that day on, I stopped saying that data centers were AI. The water is for AI. I say no. And I initially thought it was for robots. Once I saw them cameras, I was like, oh, these are actual data centers for surveillance because there is absolutely no reason so many would pop up. New data centers are coming to Georgia, 78. And if you're recording something 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you need storage for that. I don't know if y'all really think it's in the cloud, but it's not. It have to be stored somewhere on something. The human mind, they don't have the time to go through all of the data, but AI does. That's my new theory. He said the data centers are power stations for the underground bunkers for the elite. And they're not using the water to cool the data centers. They're diverting the water to the underground cities that they've built when they get ready to leave us. I say, now that makes more sense. Neither theory is okay for us, but I'm just saying we need to make sense of this.
That's the biggest Trojan horse right now, ladies and gentlemen. The biggest Trojan horse in the world right now is the data centers. And I was building with Kambada and he hit me with a theory that made all the sense. And I was like, damn, that makes sense. So his whole thing was, his theory is when they let the migrants in, similar to what I just showed you with the with this thing with the Moroccans going into Spain and whatnot, right? So when they rushed the border and during the Biden administration, and it was all of these men, all of these capable, able-bodied men coming in from Ecuador, Venezuela, and Mexico and other places. His theory is that they were the ones who built these data centers. Because keep in mind, these data centers started popping up out of nowhere, but nobody that I know was working on them. You know, I never saw nobody on Instagram or TikTok at a data center doing construction, dancing to like, you know, a TikTok dance and whatnot. I didn't see that. So who built the data centers and where the hell did all of these migrants get this extra money from? Because they came through, but all of them wasn't on the streets trying to get work. All of them wasn't necessarily at Home Depot soliciting their skills and whatnot. They were building, they were doing something. They were being employed and whatnot. So when you think about it, imagine if they grabbed a whole bunch of them and brought them, because they building the data centers underground first. They building the data centers in the dumbos. The data centers are in the dumbos and whatnot. And then they're building the data centers above ground, but they already have them inside of these dumbos, inside of mountains and whatnot. So that was just a good theory that he was thinking about. But the biggest Trojan horse in the community, all communities, is the data centers. They are not what they say that they are. They are not. They don't serve that purpose. They are in my humble opinion, they are to human consciousness what plasma centers are to blood, right? They're going to draw human consciousness the same way that plasma centers popped up in the hood, dialysis centers popped up in the hood to extract what? So now with Neuralink and with all of these quote unquote, look, they're burning the books and whatnot. So after they finish burning the books, after they finish extracting the books from the libraries, what is the next form of data that's more pure and more golden than the book information, or what we would call data that is on paper? It will be the memory. It would be the memory that's stored inside of the neurological outputs, the brain, right? Through the Neuralink, quote unquote, yeah, the DNA will be next. They'll be able to read the DNA through either the quantum machines and whatnot. They're going to be doing some type of DNA light body work and whatnot. And for the people with the Jabberwockies, with the nanotechnology, the data centers are going to play a pivotal part in this whole thing. The flock cameras, all of that is in. I feel all of that has some type of intricate alignment. Trust. That is the biggest Trojan horse that people are facing at this point, outside of so many other things. But that shit right there, the data centers that are in the hood, that the data centers that are the size of Manhattan, yeah, yeah, flag on the play.
I create a photo flyer, it's going to take gallons and gallons and gallons and buckets of water. That don't make no sense to me. What does is they are building these $1 billion bunkers. They do know we are on the verge of eating them. That makes way more sense to me. They see, oh, these people waking up. Oh, they're getting smart. Oh, they don't want to be slaves anymore. They don't care about money anymore. They want nature and they want to be outside and they want to raise their children and they want to have a normal life and they want to fall in love and they want to be, and they just want to, they don't want to do anything and they don't want to work for us anymore and they don't care about that. Whatever they're doing with CERN, it has something to do with, they know we either going to be wiped out by then, or they think we are, or something's going to happen where we actually eat them by then. People are turning on billionaires. You see this every single day. They want tax the rich, eat the rich. They're saying all these things. And you could buy your way and it's not working anymore. Between him and I like those matched together. Those are surveillance centers. They need to power them. But why would they need clean water? Why can't they use recycled water? Why does it have to be our usable water that we need to live with? That doesn't make no sense. So what does make sense is an underground bunker, and they need all the water for themselves and they're trying to store it up because they don't know how long they're going to be down there. That makes more sense to me. All YouTube comments and videos are stored at data centers. They need, I'm telling you, they need places to store this stuff. And it's so much information, so big, and it's so much energy being used, and they're just harvesting our energy like mine right now. I like that theory.
Insanely stupid and darkly funny story of how Israel convinced Donnie to take us all to war. On February 11th, Netanyahu made a surprise secret appearance at the White House. He was taken down to the Situation Room. It's important to note, foreign leaders never give briefings to the president in the fucking Situation Room. But for whatever reason, we just gave Bibi and his rather large team of assistants full access to one of the most secure places on planet Earth. The meeting ran for almost an hour. Bibi told Donnie that the war would be over within a few weeks. They specifically said that that Iran does not have the ability to close the Strait of Hormuz, that Israel had Mossad agents ready to start riots, that the Kurds would invade on land, and they'd swiftly force a regime change. Now, I'm not a rocket surgeon, but you don't have to know much to know that none of that fucking happened. Then they showed him a little animated video montage hyping everything up, and Donnie loved it. He clapped his fat hands together and likely pooped a little and said, "Sounds good to me." Now here's where it gets even worse. Rubio and General Kane worked overnight to see if this plan would work, and Rubio specifically called it bullshit. Neither of them believed any sort of regime change was even remotely possible. But Trump's response was, that will be Iran's problem to handle. The sentiment from the meeting was that Donnie didn't really follow anyone's arguments. He seemingly couldn't comprehend the specifics of what Kane and Rubio were telling him. But that's what dementia will do to you. Starting up forever wars because an easily manipulated old diaper-wearing loser saw a flashy video and clapped like a seal with dreams of murdering civilians with multi-million-dollar missiles. That, and Jeff recorded him doing bad things and sent that video on to his superiors to hold over that same old diaper-wearing loser and force him to destroy our entire nation. Thanks, Jeff.
Closet Graham, may you rest in shit. That man's funeral was iniquitous in the best way. President Trumpstein just got done saying, yeah, he's not liked by everybody. Think it's a nice little love tap. All right, Lindsay, see you never, man. Let me know how hell is, and Satan, because I'm going to be there soon.
Everyone, Republican or Democrat, liked Lindsay. Well, not everybody, but it sounds good. Not everybody. He was a tough cookie, okay? I have to veer from this for a second. He was a tough cookie, darling.
He was like, whoa, 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 liked by everybody. Come on now. Everybody hated that man. What are we talking about? You think people on the left, nobody on the left liked him?
In 2016, Lindsay said something rather nasty on his flight to becoming the next president of the United States. So naturally, I did something that I shouldn't have done. I shared his personal cell phone number with the millions of people that happened to be watching that particular day as I made a speech, a very important speech. And I remember the number 202-228-0292 if anybody wants to give it a shot. His phone exploded. He said, I had that number for 20 years. His phone totally, I don't know what he did with it, but it exploded. That was the beginning of a friendship in a way. But it was Lindsay who had the last laugh, because while I blew up his phone for one day, we became great friends, and Lindsay did not stop calling me for the next 10 years. It was nutty.
I absolutely hate bro, but he is fucking hilarious. And that's well-executed hate. What the fuck? Lindsay, he hated on me? Yeah, release his number. Fuck that. Hey, he ain't gonna send another text. And then to just end it with like, man, this motherfucker would not stop calling me. Bomb this, bomb that.
The nation needs more men and women like that great person sitting, laying, wherever he may be. I think I know where he is, and I think he's up there. I think he's watching us. I'm pretty sure of it.
I already forgot your name, gang. But let me just, drive this point home. You are not in heaven looking down at anything. You are looking up. I already know. Satan probably has his hand on your shoulder like, you gonna be here for eternity, buddy. You have a lot of work to do.
He was often unfairly characterized as a warmonger. I've heard that false criticism a lot. It's not true. The truth was the opposite.
Trump didn't let that lie live for the rest of the funeral.
Hawkish, I will tell you, he never saw a war that he didn't like. Only his true friends would understand that.
Stop lying at funerals. Everybody in that room knew he was a warmonger. But then I realized you was lying about everything. And the amount of dick sucking you was doing, Hannity? Jesus Christ. How was it living on your knees like that?
Lindsay, Mr. President, I would argue in my mind, probably has a heavenly version of Mar-a-Lago. It may even be a little bigger. He may have a little more gold in the Oval Office in his mansion in heaven. And I wouldn't be surprised if he added one big, beautiful ballroom and an arch somewhere on the property.
Ew, bro. Take it out your fucking mouth. And the audacity to say that heaven's gonna be Mar-a-Lago? The child pedophile that was kicking it with Epstein? If that's what heaven looked like, immediately, me and God gonna have a conversation. I say, hey, show me hell. I gotta make sure, because if these motherfuckers make it to heaven, hell must be I.
He loved you. He loved the state of Israel. He loved the people of Israel. Under your leadership, Israel has been one of America's most consistent and loyal allies. He was never shy to say it. to the day he passed.
We know. That's why I was confused. Y'all buried him in the American flag. I thought it was going to be buried in the blue and white. During that time, Trump seen him falling asleep, and then Netanyahu right here in the colorite peroxide with his ugly ass wife. But that's where shit got interesting. Because yeah, he was there at the funeral, but he was doing a lot more. First off, bro got a whole entire motorcade, then snuck through the side door. Then he's looking like he's giving direct orders to Henny Hegseth, Marco the Narco, and Howard Nutley. Howard's like, I can't make it too obvious. Let me just get in ear's reach. There's not no regular conversation reminiscing about Lindsay. Fuck no. They talking about plans, execution, and look at Marco the Narco's like, hold on, who's in earshot? How many cameras are watching this shit? Just everything about this, Mephistophelian. I could feel the evil seeping through the fucking camera. These two dweebs talking. Zelensky, I'm telling you, something's going on here. Because obviously, he needs help with Russia. But Russia supposedly is backdooring with Iran. So he's trying to convince them, hey, help us out. Stop fucking with Putin because he wants to kill y'all too. And will that end up happening? I think so. Because like I said, he let Laura Loomer into his country and interview him. Something weird's going on.
You got this lunatic mayor in New York thinking you may get arrested if you go to New York, which will never happen.
First of all, I'm going to New York.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you there when I go to the UN in September.
Say that shit with so much confidence, you would think he the president. I'll be there in New York. New Yorkers, y'all know what to do, son. I'm just saying, tomatoes, make them feel uncomfortable. No violence. I would never say violence because next thing you know, LJ, come with us. I'm not inciting nothing. But he needs to feel uncomfortable and not respected.
I'm going there. I'm going to speak the truth in front of this. You know, there's just hate spewing elected official who's pitting one group of New Yorkers against the others. He's turning them against New York Jews. I mean, what are we, in the 1930s? What is this?
Lying in real time because he knows people that watch Hannity won't do any further research. But actually, among American Jews, Mamdani, more favorable than you genocidal maniac.
How'd that meeting go?
It was great. It was one of the best meetings that we've had. And I always hate to disappoint our would-be critics who are trying to find, cracks in our alliance. And what they find, like today, is a wall of granite.
That's where all the fun stops, because that is not a good sign. That means we are going to increase our war, increase soldiers, and increase boots on the ground in Iran, because most likely he pitched Pickaxe Mountain and a whole bunch of other bullshit that Trump will now follow in his footsteps and execute, which means we're cooked.
Because the president is so clear. I mean, we have a common commitment. We don't want to see this fanatic regime in Tehran have nuclear weapons.
I just wish y'all didn't have nuclear weapons and were able to lie about it after you stole it from us, because then you guys would actually have no fucking power and people could just go in there and fix the problem that you guys are causing. But unfortunately, that's not happening. But then we had Ted on his knees, Cruz, basically point out the hypocrisy of America live in action.
Mondami, you know who does own a pied-à-terre? That would be Comrade Mondami, who has a palatial estate in Uganda. But that's always the case. Fidel Castro was a billionaire. Putin is a billionaire. The leaders of communist regimes are always rich. They steal and rob from those they govern.
Hello, Exhibit A, dickhead. What are you talking about? Somebody that steals from their people. Crypto. He called it Trump coin. And then they had Melania coin. He's made over $1 billion. It's so funny to me that every other billionaire, oligarch, dictator, American billionaires, oh, no. Everything's copacetic. Those are amazing people. We should give them some tax breaks. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yes. Let's go to one more. We about to get out of here in a minute, y'all. Good to be back with you. What y'all know about the book, the Anthropic in the books? Anthropic with the books. Who's heard about the story with Anthropics in the books? This is making a lot of rounds on social. A lot of people are talking about it. First of all, we're cooked. Let us explore. Let us explore.
These are the machines that are ripping apart millions of books in massive warehouses for training AI learning models. In the case Verts v. Anthropic, it was revealed that Anthropic was buying up old books using a loophole that allows companies to erase evidence of the original and therefore any copyright claim. The Washington Post reported that in early 2024, Executives at artificial intelligence startup Anthropic ramped up an ambitious project they sought to keep quiet. Project Panama is our effort to destructively scan all of the books in the world. We don't want it to be known that we're working on this. I think this is outrageous, and so I have put the legal case in my link in bio. Go ahead and take a look.
Seems to be discussing Anthropic destroying all of those books, but I haven't seen anybody sufficiently address the reason why, and it is deeply concerning. I'm Giga Chen, and I believe people use news far too often to demonstrate awareness. Let's develop some understanding. 404 Media reported that a company called ISBN-DB had advertised high-volume physical book acquisition services specifically for AI companies. The marketing pitch was essentially a discreet way of accessing curated human writing for training. No AI slop. You might have heard of Anthropic's internal operation called Project Panama, where they spent millions of dollars buying millions of books. But if you're on social media, you've probably seen this video associated with the ensuing damage. No, that is the scan robot by Triventus, an Austrian company with high morals. It should be somewhat obvious just by looking at that machine, but it is not proof of wrongdoing. Rather, it is proof that the destruction of the books was not technologically unavoidable. With Project Panama, vendors removed the book bindings, cut the pages to size, scanned them into searchable digital files, and then discarded what was left. And there's an important distinction. Not every scanned book was necessarily even used to train an AI model. The scans all became part of Anthropic's central research library. But why were the books destroyed? Everyone's talking about cost and speed, and that's fair to an extent. I mean, that's why they use Datamation Information Services. Say that 3 times fast. But more importantly, each paper copy was replaced by one internal digital copy. From a legal standpoint, the court found that digital copies had no evidence of being shared, shown, or sold outside of Anthropic. See, the first sale doctrine means that a company can do what they want with a book after they've bought it. And because Anthropic isn't distributing those copies to us, the judge ruled it is a one-for-one format exchange. So destroying the books doesn't make the training legal per se, but it instead helps them to win a narrower ruling about converting the physical copies into digital ones. The big fines you've heard about came from downloading books. This is our legal system at work, guys, and this service is being sold to more AI companies as we speak. So the question I'm asking right now is, does our legal framework incentivize private companies to destroy public books so that they can build private libraries that the public doesn't even get to access?
Anthropic has gone full Fahrenheit 451 and burned all of the old rare books in existence. We are going to need those people that are working at rare bookstores that seem to have a full Rolodex of every single book that has ever existed in their brain. Anthropic is doing destructive scanning. It's literally called destructive scanning, where they buy old books and they genuinely destroy them. They destroy them in the process of making Claude. It's gonna make the burning of the Library of Alexandria look like fucking child's play. If I had money to collect something right now, I would be collecting like really old, important pieces of literature. That would be what I would be collecting. They try to get rid of all of these old texts, and they're going to continue to do it. They're already doing it. They're going to try to rewrite the way that we look at history, which is something that already happens in actual written text. We rewrite things all the time. American history has been very plainly rewritten, and the way that we've learned it has been rewritten. They are going to do their best to make sure that we learned a very streamlined way of how they want history to be. And we already suffer under that. So imagine what that would be when it's all one voice, all one AI voice writing something. We're not far off. Like, I think that we are not quite grasping how close we are to these things really happening. This is why I write still, because I know that no matter how bad my writing might be or like isn't completely professional and polished, it's my writing. And I'm so proud to say that I'm writing things. And we need to do it and practice it. And whether it's in a journal or whether it's on a private Substack or your own, something that you publish on Substack or something you're publishing in a paper, like, it's so important to keep writing.
Hegseth's Department of Defense is under fire this morning after being caught asking AI to generate a war. No, I'm not kidding. So they posted this from the Department of War's official Twitter account. This is for the Undersecretary of Research and Engineering. And they talk about new AI task forces embedded within the US Pacific Fleet. Fine, pretty standard. But I want to look at this image right here to the bottom left. When you zoom in, it's a service member talking to an AI bot. And when we zoom in even further, here's what it says. I need help building an agent to generate a war. Now, this could have been completely intentional by the Department of Defense or the Department of War, whatever you want to call it, to kind of troll people online. Or it could be an example of how the Secretary of Defense is just kind of dropping the ball on OPSEC, also known as Operation Security. But many people online quickly latched onto this, showing that the Department of War is once again being ridiculed because of a post it made. Spread the word, follow for more.
Seeing the headlines, and I just want you all to see that I see what you see. I want you to see in May 25, they said the Trump administration's federal layoffs hit Black women the hardest. All right. I want you to see above that, May 26, they say Black men face a worsening jobs market. May 2026, race, jobs, and economy update. They're talking about the hit that Black men are facing. And then I want you to see to the right, you have the 1%. You have your elite. You have your Black upper echelon. You have Ryan Clark. You have Cam Newton. They too have lost their jobs. We talked about how we are in a silent recession. And then I did a video talking about how Black educators are a part of a purge. Black educators are a part of a purge. So when I say that Black women lost their jobs, Black men have lost their jobs, the top 1% in Black folks are beginning to lose their jobs, children have lost their advocacy, there's a war on the Black family. It has always been there. Now, because of social media, you're seeing things in real time, but the system is disingenuous. The system is a liar. And I want you to see all these different classes that still are up against a giant system. And the system is a liar. The system is disingenuous. The system will make you believe that you're not doing something right, that you're inadequate, that you're wrong. But it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. The biggest issue with all of these people here, and especially with the NFL and ESPN, there's just something about the foundation of America that people forget. Black people built this country. Built it. You are minimizing what you have built. I look at the NFL. I look at the NBA. All I see every time you see the NFL, you see all those Black men on the fields and they're running and they're hitting each other. I see the womb of a Black woman. I see the womb of a Black woman. I see the seed of a Black man. We have built every Fortune 500 company that America sits on. And we sitting around sad. I'm not sad. Why would I be sad? I am the creator of an economy. Why would I be sad? I'm not a president with a Z. I'm 100% politically incorrect. Do not be sad when this system is a lie. This system is a lie. Don't be sad when you find out that it's a lie and it's been lying and it's consistently a liar. I'm not a president with a Z. I'm 100% politically incorrect. And I hope that you can fully understand, even my dog agrees, that this system is a lie. Don't believe.
Now, one thing about that Ryan Clark interview that really stood out to me.
3 years, bro, we never shied away from any topic. Right. We never shied away from tackling anything. We did this year. Because I knew I couldn't have no beef. I knew I couldn't respond to disrespect. I knew, for lack of a better word, I couldn't be too Black. What makes me sad is, even in trying to adjust to be at least more of what certain people wanted, they still fired me.
He talked about that he recognized that in this season, he couldn't be too Black. So he adjusted. He became more measured, more careful. Baby, he understood the assignment. And as I was listening to the interview, I wasn't just hearing Ryan Clark. I was hearing the hidden curriculum. Y'all remember when I talked about the hidden curriculum? Well, here we go. The hidden curriculum is everything an institution teaches you that is never written down. It's the unwritten rules. How to dress, how to speak, how much of yourself is acceptable,
and how much you need to leave at the door. And baby, as a Black professional, we know the curriculum. We learn to read the room. We learn to speak the language. We learn to stay quiet. We learn to code switch. We learn how to make other people comfortable. And so Ryan Clark understood the hidden curriculum. He recognized the unwritten rules. And by his own account, he adjusted his behavior accordingly. But here's what that experience reminds all of us. The hidden curriculum teaches you how to survive an institution, but it cannot guarantee that the institution will protect you. Baby, they're different. Understanding the rules does not guarantee security. Not emotional security, not financial, not professional. Baby, that's why I keep talking about Black consciousness and dismantling white supremacy. Because once you recognize the hidden curriculum, you stop mistaking it for some type of promise. It isn't. It is a survival strategy. And survival, baby, it ain't the same as freedom. Yeah, don't get it twisted. So the real question isn't how do I become acceptable enough? The real question is, what am I building that allows me to thrive without negotiating my humanity? That's a different question. And I believe that's the question more of us need to start asking. Yeah. All right, good people. Drink your water, stay rooted, real, and knowledgeable. And mind your Black business.
I don't want to make fun of anybody in the this out there in the public, right? But I wanted to put this clip up to give people some insight as to who they're making the face of Black leadership and Black justice, right? Mr. Benjamin Crump. I didn't know that Mr. Benjamin Crump couldn't read. And that's very alarming because we need more, we need people that's going to be in the spotlight that represent the nation of us to be more astute, right? Check it out.
Goes the gunshot wound of the head. A, the injury, proliferation of the left internal subra. Now I'm looking at this word because I know it's not subdural artery, but it's
Now, I struggle on some words when I'm reading. So I'm not about to get up here and act like, you know, I'm Mr. Spelling Bee and everything. But you know, it does happen. It happens. Let me not get up here and start acting all elite and everything. Reading is definitely fundamental. I'm mostly speaking about, you know, the field that this man is in. He's in he's in a field where he's representing legalese, law, cases that are going to dictate policies and whatnot. He's being hired by family to a large sum of money, to the tune of a large sum of money and whatnot. I don't know his actual rates, but I do believe that he's not a pro bono lawyer. It just will work better. Whatever this dude is an ambulance chaser. First of all, let's just be clear. He's not even a criminal lawyer. The Benjamin Crump racket has to end. Let's just say that the Benjamin Crump fiasco has to come to an end. We need better representation. Let's just be clear. He's doing what Jesse Jackson perfected, and that's basically how to get a bag. You know, these are shakedown lawyers. Okay. He comes in to get the check. And the way that I've been doing the research, you know, it goes a little bit deeper than just the surface, you know, especially when you factor in that a lot of these cases that they cherry pick, they always have a parent that happens to be in a sorority or a fraternity. You know, it's always somebody fraternal. There's always a Mason somewhere in the cut. There's always somebody from one of those Divine Nines in the cut. And that's very weird to me. But anyway, we'll continue. You know, we shall continue.
Burkina Faso just opened a gold mine that no foreign company will ever touch. 100% state-owned, zero private foreign equity. Every gram of gold going directly to the Burkina Bay people. Mines Minister Yakuba Zabre Guba called it a structural revolution. He's right. On July 9th, 2026, Burkina Faso's Council of Ministers confirmed the Bouboulou gold extraction site in the north-central Yako commune will operate under SOPAMIB Bouboulou, a fully state-owned domestic subsidiary. The project spans more than 15 years with an initial capital allocation of 32 billion CFA francs, approximately $56.1 million. Geological assessments estimate the site will yield upwards of 7 metric tons of gold over its operational life cycle, injecting more than 39 billion CFA francs, approximately $68.4 million, directly into public funds through regulatory fees and local taxes alone. And that figure excludes corporate dividends, meaning the state treasury captures even more once profits are distributed. Here's what this revolutionary model replaces. Before this state takeover, the Bouboulou concession followed the typical foreign-led framework that has bled African resources for decades. Canada's Nexus Gold Corp previously held exploration permits mapping the gold-rich property. Under that traditional model, foreign private entities retained full operational control, while the Burkina Bay state was relegated to collecting minor royalties and holding non-controlling equity stakes. Foreign companies controlled the resource. Foreign shareholders captured the profits. Burkina Faso got the scraps. That model is now officially dead at Bouboulou. Here's the detail that reveals the depth of this strategy. SOPAMIB was established in 2014, but sat largely inactive for over a decade. A state mining company with no mines to run because foreign concessions dominated the sector. Captain Traore's administration didn't create a new institution. They resurrected an existing one, systematically substituting international dependence with state-backed capacity that was always there, waiting to be activated. Every foreign concession replaced by SOPAMIB is another step towards complete resource sovereignty. Burkina Faso isn't alone in this pivot. Guinea is steadily empowering state enterprises to secure equitable shares of national mineral output. Mali redistributed $33 million in mining revenues to communities. Niger nationalized uranium mines. Congo demanded local ownership across its mineral sector. The Sahel is leading a continental transition, from centers of foreign extraction to primary managers of their own natural assets. Bouboulou is the purest expression of that transition. Not a renegotiated stake, not an increased royalty, but complete state ownership from day one. 7 metric tons of gold, $68.4 million in public funds, 15 years of state-controlled production, zero foreign equity, every franc of profit channeled back into civic infrastructure, regional security, and community development. Mines Minister Guba called it a structural revolution because it deliberately breaks away from legacy concessions that left domestic mineral processing in private hands. He's not exaggerating. This is what it looks like when Africa stops asking for a seat at the table and builds its own table entirely. Inside my African Mineral Rush Masterclass, I break down exactly what's happening on the continent, the minerals, the energy infrastructure, the investment opportunities, and show you how everyday people can position themselves before this becomes mainstream. Text GOLD on +14043 834744, and I will send you the link.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I think we got about one more, and then we are going to get up out of here. I do have an announcement to make about the album release that we'll be having tomorrow. All right, got some good news to share. So let's we'll get to that in 1 minute. Let me land this.
Elon Musk, Anthony Fauci, and Sir Isaac. What Elon Musk, Anthony Fauci, and Sir Isaac Newton all have in common? Well, they're all fellows at the Royal Society, which is a private club that helped build empires on stolen science and history. The Royal Society was actually inspired by Sir Francis Bacon's concept of Solomon's House, which openly stated the objective was to steal information from around the world to use it for their own benefit. Now, it was a two-part system. First, they would send covert spies called Merchants of Light to extract the data from foreign lands. Second, they'll ship it back to guys he literally called depredators, which means plunderers, so that way they could synthesize it and then use it for themselves. But Solomon's House was theoretical. How did this play out in real life? You know that little company called the East India Trading Company? Remember them? Yep. They were the spies, or the Merchants of Light, and then the Royal Society played the plunderers or the scientists. And this rabbit hole goes deep. For example, we're taught that Isaac Newton just magically invented physics when an apple fell on his head. But in reality, it was just because he had access to the Royal Society's vault. Newton's laws of motion were pioneered by Ibn Sina 700 years before Newton was even born. And it wasn't just Newton. The Royal Society ran this playbook on everything. There's Robert Boyle, the father of chemistry, who stole lab methods from 8th century Arab scientist Jabir ibn Hayyan. Vaccines are another example. They were stolen from the Ottoman Empire and labeled a British miracle. And probably the biggest example is Darwin's theory of natural selection, which was mapped out by an Afro-Arab scholar named Al-Jahiz thousands of years before Darwin was even born. We're taught that the United Kingdom incubated the Enlightenment, but that is entirely untrue. They laundered the entire thing and then used the information to oppress the people that they got it from. Now, I'm almost done with the documentary that exposes this entire Enlightenment scam and how it was really the Quran that catalyzed the greatest advancements in human history, not Englishmen. So if you want to see it, comment the word heist below and I'll DM you when it's done, inshallah.
You know, there's a fine line between people understanding what an oracle is and what a conspiracy theorist is. And I get it, modern day media clouds our minds from being able to read the abstract and see it in a logical picture. In a previous video, I spoke about the death of Nolan Wells and how it was syncing with the timing of the release of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and how movies are echoing these events, maybe not in linear time, but things are merging right now. And so recently there was just a new detail released about Nolan's case, and we're going to get into it just a little bit. When I spoke about the Odyssey, I explained about it being about King Odysseus, the king of Ithaca, and the times of the Trojan Wars, and trying to return to his wife Penelope, getting lost at sea, and how it ties into Nolan's death in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. During the summertime, we do see a lot of sacrifices happening during the summertime, specifically the closer we get to the rising of the water. Now, when I explained the Odyssey to you, I brought up the name Homer in relation to a decode that I did last year on The Simpsons and its ties back to ancient Egypt. And there are pieces of the Odyssey that actually also attribute to Africa, specifically the Nubians, that Homer himself wrote about.
but it also becomes embedded into cartoon worlds, which you may or may not believe. A lot of people have seen that The Simpsons, the television show that's been running for over 36 seasons, seems to sometimes predict events or mirror events from reality. And in my decode, I brought up Homer Simpson, like Homer in the Odyssey, which Homer was obviously a poet before we had modern day cartoons and television. So for those of you all who cannot think more abstractly and how themes tend to echo, you may not understand what I'm telling you here. But a new fact entered into the case. A young man named Bart, who was until recently not mentioned in the investigation at all. Now, I mentioned that in previous videos, some of these details being released about Nolan are in relation to his throat or his neck. And it has been a running gag on The Simpsons since its origin that when Homer becomes frustrated with his son Bart, he begins choking him. It's literally one of the most popular gags of the television show. Now, what does this say about the case? Does it mean that Christopher Nolan was sitting in a dark room and collaborated with the members of The Simpsons in order to make Nolan's death happen? No, absolutely not. That is not what I'm saying here. You have to have a spiritual understanding about the way this world works, television and film, and its impact as an echo on the society. Because I don't find it even the slightest bit coincidence that we've been talking about Homer and the Odyssey. Again, a film that is directed by Christopher Nolan, and now we have a Nolan who may have been involved with a Bart. Now, yesterday I spoke a little bit about how feast days are used to channel energy. And so I started looking into Bartholomew the Apostle, who was one of the 12 apostles of Christ. His feast day is August 25th. This is the death date of Aaliyah. In the same weekend that Nolan went missing, there was a tribute in New Orleans, Louisiana to Aaliyah herself. And the connection we have here is Death in the Water. The last music video that Aaliyah shot before her death was Rock the Boat. It came from the studio album Aaliyah that was released in the United States on July 17th. That is the day that the Odyssey came out this year. So what you'll learn from something like this is not the same kind of information you'll get from someone studying the legal facts or wanting truth, because I believe there's far too much hidden information to understand why this happens. We have been given hints through films like Sinners, for example, the connection to the Deep South, Black folks, the blues, the energy being preyed on, the sweltering heat, and how water is a form of communication for us. So that is in relation to the neck. But also when we get to the idea of the film The Odyssey, how it's being perceived in the public, specifically the criticism that it's getting for the role of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy. If you view the film and the events, the actual events of Homer in the Odyssey in a real-time scenario, the spiritual wars that you hear people talking about that are going on right now are being depicted through the screen. And then through Nolan's case, we can interpret that there is something significant about the water, the souls of Black people. I even wanted to trace and use the Simpsons episodes to see if I found anything significant. Nolan went missing on July 4th. And if you go to the 4th episode of the 7th season of The Simpsons, it's an episode called Bart Sells His Soul. Now, this does not mean that every time you see a Simpsons character, you have to relate it directly to someone. Again, you have to remember that we live in an abstract universe that has been made into something more structured. So reading code is like reading a painting, trying to get into the collective themes by brushstrokes, colors, even the timing in which was released, because it tells a far greater story about what we're witnessing. I myself feel a lot of frustration watching these events happening, and now in a social media age, how keeping it in conversation is not really getting us to the root of how do we solve this problem. But I feel like in order to solve any scenario, we have to go back in history. We have to learn about the origins of where we come from and how alchemical our nature is throughout the history of existence. In every civilization, specifically though, the ones that are indigenous to the land, because then we would only understand the power of water and how on a global stage it can impact the events that we're seeing in real time. So I hope
Black people lost their lives in Mississippi under suspicious circumstances, all examined by Dr. Stacey Turner, who ruled every single one no foul play. Give us your medical license, bitch. She performed the autopsy of Nolan Wells, who drowned on Horn Island, surrounded by white families who never got him home, had all of his belongings, including his phone, wiped some of his data from it, never notified his family, and don't have their story straight. Dr. Stacey Turner ruled this no foul play and refuses to release the results of her preliminary autopsy, but is keeping back the throat, lungs, and stomach from the family's new private medical examiner for further testing. She also performed Damian Cameron's autopsy, who was tased, beat, and and had his neck shoved into the fucking ground by cops. And then minutes later, he fucking died in the cop car. Her noted cause of death was undetermined. And after other experts examined his body, they ruled it a homicide. This also happened to Shannon Wilson, who accidentally drowned while playing with a group of white boys at the lake. Dr. Stacy Turner ruled this accidental with no further investigation. And lastly, Trey Reed, who was found hanged on a tree outside his university. She ruled this no foul play, and yet the FBI has been investigating this for about a year now with no answers. So we gotta sign this petition, reach out to her office, and call your fucking representatives. Dr. Stacy Turner very clearly has a racial bias and should not be having her fucking hands on black bodies, let alone any bodies. Share this story and make some noise so we can get someone without a racist fucking agenda handling these precious bodies.
First of all, we're cooked, by the way. I haven't posted about shit that's going on in a while because I just wanted to honestly just direct my mind and my attention to other things, but we have literally just linked up with Israel damn near. Like, we're basically the United States of Israel now. Now, this still has to go through the Senate, and it has to go through the president, obviously, but we know how our president feels about Israel, huh? If you don't know what this means, basically now we're just going to be working together on AI, cybersecurity, military operations, all of those things in between. So if we could hope and fucking pray that the Senate will wake up and realize that this is the fucking Antichrist and that the people in America don't want to fucking support Israel. Oh my God. Like, what are we doing? Imagine these states, the money they send to Israel. Imagine what you could do. We would have high-speed rail all over the fucking continental United States. We would not have to worry about goddamn gas because we would just take the fucking train. Not only that, but low-cost housing. Fuck it, though. Fuck it. Let's go. All over Israel.
Paul Aschenbrenner just ran $20 million all the way up to $45 billion and then lost it all. Some people are calling this the FTX collapse of AI, and he actually used to work for FTX, which is crazy. Yeah, just for context, he's 25 years old and he's been on pace to being one of the most successful fund managers of all time. Here's why. Basically, last year, Claude Code was invented. He basically predicted that it would change everything and cause memory prices to go up, power to go up, and he took big bets on that. Memory going up in price. This is the reason why your PS5 now costs $650. The PS5 Pro costs $900. So yeah, Claude Code and the AI advancements are something that is disrupting the entire economy, and he took the bet with as much size and as much leverage as he could possibly get. And he was up for a long time. This is one of his biggest positions. He rode it all the way up and kept adding to his positions and doubling and tripling down. This was a crazy gamble move. He's like a fucking degenerate, and he's adding to this position with billions of dollars until it goes down. And now this position, SK Hynix, is down about 50% from the highs. Seen The Big Short? Yeah, it's just like this. When you owe people money and you're losing every single day, they might just margin call you. So yeah, a fund bought all of his equities, 50% of his Anthropic, and they took his money because he was losing all of it. Imagine losing $45 billion. And this guy was supposed to be the next Warren Buffett. Because he sold on the short term, SK Hynix, which is a big thing that he owned, is actually up. So people find it bullish for the market right now that he got liquidated because they viewed him as a forced seller that was suppressing prices. Overall, the guy's obviously a genius, but he just took too much risk. He's really just like one of us, bro, but like on the highest stakes possible. This finance stuff is crazy. It's just like poker or some kind of high-level strategy game. And this kid was playing it well until he got absolutely rinsed.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Just some of the things going on in the news cycle on this Third Eye Friday as we talk about Dr. Doom. Now, just based off of the information like I was speaking on earlier about, C19, the universal distrust in not only the media, because that already happened, the universal distrust in the media, but now the universal distrust in the medicine, right? The universal distrust in big, you know who, right? That is going to have humongous implications moving forward, especially for people who are beyond just woke up, just beyond past woke. They're at a place where they're like, yo, we are in a crisis at this point in the game. We don't have no time to play. We don't have no time to try to figure this shit out. We know what it is. We know what these people trying to do with us, and we're not about to just stand here and let it happen. So we're going to have more conversations. We just getting things warmed up and whatnot. Let me throw this video up here. We do have an event that is going to be kicking off tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. And just based off of the enormous feedback that we've been getting, we decided to open it up for a live stream. So for everybody that's listening to this, if you hear this before 8 o'clock Saturday, please go and get your ticket for the VLTRN premiere. The VLTRN project is available. It is ready. We're going to have an album listening tomorrow. This is a project. This is volume 1. It is featuring Red Pill, Blue Pillar, and Cambada. All right. Production by Brother Rich, and my brother Nick Price. All right. This is one of it's been 6 years since I've did anything new music-wise as a project. So this is my first project in 6 years. So this is real big. I've been, as you can see, I took a hiatus. I've been working on a project, finishing it up. I've been in album mode. So I definitely look forward to the support of the family to see what we've been doing on the music side. You know what I mean? Because I know that that's not something that people know me for doing 24/7. That's not on my, that's not what I do every day. But I have put a lot of energy into the creative process. And we're putting this project out, and we want you guys to enjoy it. All right. So that is tomorrow. Check us out.
Peace, family. Peace to me, yours, brother Red Pill, caught live and direct. Gas. I'm just smelling the flowers. Today is a beautiful day. Big announcements and whatnot, ladies and gentlemen. Big announcements on August the 1st, which happens to be a Saturday. We are debuting our latest project, VLTRN, featuring Red Pillar, Blue Pillar, Cambada, produced by Brother Rich, Brother Nick Land and whatnot. We are going to be debuting our biggest project as of yet. Bars is back, the music is back, summer 2026. You know what I'm talking about? It's going down. You already know what it is. VLTRN, Chapter 1. We are going to be having the album released on the 1st. And then also in Atlanta on 8/8. That's when it officially comes out, 8/8. But we got the album listening on the 1st. Make sure you in the building. NYC, the 1st. You already know, 7 p.m. Eastern. Man, we might even live stream it too. Talk Black to me. See y'all in the building.
So yes, tomorrow, the QR code right there, you'll be able to get it on Eventbrite. QR code is right there. You'll be able to get it on Eventbrite. If you're in the New York area or the tri-state area, Jersey, Connecticut, New York City, pull up tomorrow on Saturday, 7 p.m. The doors open up. 8 p.m. We're going to start the festivities. We will be debuting our latest project on a live stream. And everybody, you have access to it. Go ahead and grab your ticket. Scan that QR code right there, the blue and white one. That'll take you to Eventbrite. You'll be able to get your ticket. You know what I'm talking about? And we look forward to partying with the family tomorrow. no matter where you are around the world. We're not going to keep you restricted. We want everybody to enjoy this with us at the same damn time. That's very important. Moving into the month of August and whatnot. Still the road to InvestFest, ladies and gentlemen. We just been working, doing a lot of work behind the scenes, getting everything right, getting everything together, just preparing ourselves and whatnot. Thank you all for your time today. I really appreciate everybody, your energy, your feedback and whatnot, your feedback. You know what I'm talking about? While we've been sharing these stories. And yeah, we will be Saturday Night Live, Sacrilegious Sundays. One of those days will be popping up. You dig? Just look out for us, and we will be tapping in with the family. I want to say peace, love, and light to everybody. Thank you all, and I look forward to seeing y'all at the album premiere tomorrow. Shout out to my Imaginarium, KT Aliens, everybody in the building. Peace.
Can't beat us, join us, please bring your coinage. We sing 3-pointers, money shots, all net, all vets. Bumps we not, jet skiing in them sunny spots. With women edible like gummy drops. Dummy stop, dummy stop. No weapon form can intercept the storm. Once my intellect is on, I'm projecting on magnetic fields. And interact with blacks with athletic bills. I'm all about growth and development like residents of Ebbets Fields. Not to choose between woo and chew. We wanna line them colors up like a Rubik's Cube. And fade to black, yeah, the truest hue. When you say the black man is God, who you alluded to? The usual, Clarence 13X, a worthy guest. The words expressed come from the word in flesh. Elijah M, the NOI versus Leviathan. Messiah sent from the heavenly branches. 7 P's from since G-Dub cut down the cherry tree. In the wilderness of North Mex, and we flossing death and forced aggression, or forced perception, forced protection, or forced confessions. It's all a lesson.
The sorcerers from Corsica, killer tonics, sticks and drums like the Philharmonic Orchestra. You niggas still playing harmonicas from officers, fabric softener. Jive turkeys popping 5 perkies, playing with keys, the Scotch storage type. For that soft white, we could've caught life, just being forthright. First class on my 4th flight, popping out like Fortnite. Every night we lit like Porsche lights. The meek shall inherit the earth, oh yeah, the scorched type. And these niggas, they some hoes in these streets. Me, I'm 10 toes in these streets. They lost their souls, niggas got holes in their feet. Shit, I'm just worried about the craft and how to perfect it. Not worried about the craft, yeah, that's out of perspectives. Focus on the chip like I'm Robert Kraft, and then how to protect it. It's the waves of the oceans. Get to the money, nigga, save your emotion. Descended of the slaves in the graves in the oceans. Mastermind that the waves is in motions. These niggas, they addicted to the folly, addicted to that molly. Making me a movie, them sticks made of holly. I'm Dr. Manhattan, sitting on top of Manhattan. When I get all 5 rings, snap my fingers and pop up on satin. Dressed in all black, yeah, drop top the Phantom. Blast.
Crumb TV.